Okay, hey, today I want to talk about a corki rework concept. Yeah, I'm sorry if my voice sounds like a potato salad. I am sick with not COVID actually. I've tested negative, and my entire family has tested negative. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Tell me about my voice if it's too loud or too low, and also tell me if the music is too loud or too low. Okay, let's start with the passive. Every time you use an ability, you get 3 stacks. Every time you auto attack, you consume 1 stack, and your next auto attack would have a faster animation. Faster animation, but longer lockdown animation. What do I mean by that? In this game, there are 2 types of animation. The normal is just how much time it will take for your ability to hit. So if you think about the Corky's Q, you can cast it and then move like pretty much instantly after the cast, like the casting animation, locking animation, whatever you want to call it. But then it takes like time for the cube to hit. The amount of time it takes for the cube to hit, that's the animation. The amount of cast it takes is the what I call lockdown animation or casting animation. So yeah, when I say that the auto attack has a longer lock animation, I mean that it like locks Corki in for the auto attack a little longer. But the animation is much faster. It's not a massive significant. It's really hard to notice by eye, but like if you're playing it, then it should feel a little more clunky to use, and which you would think is bad. But I want to give him some counterplay. I want to make sure that he has like that there are places where you can punish him for being too greedy, but also rewarding him for being greedy. Anyway, so the next part is you get 25 increased range and bonus magic damage on hit. This is all for a stack, so you can do it 3 times. That makes sense? Good. Let's move to the Q. The Q has a bit of a longer cast or lock animation, but has a much faster overall animation. This will be massively noticeable in game. I want his Q to be much easier to hit, but I want the damage to be slightly lower, and I'll explain why. Because now, once it hits the ground, it leaves behind like a little ball thingy, which has the range of his Q, the normal Q range, right? If you hit an enemy with an auto attack, inside the range of it, it would explode again, basically dealing double damage, which would still be like if his ignore path, the base damage of his Q is like 200 something. Yeah, it's pretty high. I want it to be like 180, maybe even lower, which would be like 360 after it explodes, right? So if you explode it, it's overall more damage, but if you don't, then it's less damage than his current Q. So this would kind of be a compensation for the lock that you have, a slightly longer lock. Once again, it's not too noticeable by eye, but it does give you some time to like punish Corki, which is kind of hard to punish a Corki right now. So that's why I'm giving it. So yeah, that's the idea here. It's easier to hit, but it's harder to get more damage out of it, and like requires obviously like auto attacking, right? Now I'm gonna move up some abilities around, so I'll explain that. His W will be what his E was, right? So his E right now is the ability that treads armor. That's now W, but it's pretty different. First of all, and this is the major difference, instead of moving around wherever Corki moved the last, which is insanely clunky to use and just not rewarding at all, and forces him to like all in. Which I do get it, don't get me wrong, I do get like rewarding him for all inning, but I don't like it. I really don't like it. Especially if you're going for like a much more DPS build, which I do want to give the potential of. It's really annoying to use. Okay, so now it just locks in wherever you clicked, but you can recast it by hitting W again. So think, I don't know, is there any other champion that does something similar? Basically, like you press E, the direction you press E, it would lock in that direction, but you can change it by pressing E again to wherever your cursor is right now. Also, the cone is bigger and slightly longer, so it has longer range, plus it's a little bit bigger, so it's easier to hit champions. And it no longer shreds armor. Giving a poke champion the ability to shred armor is kind of overpowered, not gonna lie. So instead of that, it's just gonna deal flat bonus damage. And I'm still not sure how exactly I want it to be. It could be stacking wise, so like each time the guy gets hit by the E, it stacks like 5 bonus damage, right? So let's say like you stand in the E for like a second or so, right? Then it stacks like each take, which I'm not sure what's the server takes out rate. Let's say it's like 7 takes, right? Because that's normally is 7 takes, but I'm really not sure since League is a very ancient game. So sorry. So yeah, let's say get like hit 7 times, so that's like 5 times 7, which is 65, I think. No, that makes no sense. Genius. That makes no sense at all. 35, sorry, 35. Why did I say 65? I'm so bad at maths, oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, let's say it's like 35 bonus damage. So yeah, then like you auto attack him after he exits the E, or even if he's still in the E, then your auto attack will deal just a flat like 35 bonus damage. But if he stands in longer, then the auto attack deals a little more damage. This like makes it a little better for poke, which is like fine. It also possible for it to be like a flat. So let's say for example, when he stands in the E, or if he gets hit by the E, then it's just like a flat like 60 damage, right? Or like 40 damage, right? But it doesn't get increased. So if you hit someone like a lot, then it's just gonna deal more damage. Because each time he gets hit by the E, it's like 40 damage. So the faster you damage him with like an ability, the more times you can stack. So this is really good for like an on-hit or DPS build. That kind of depends. Like I do like the idea of giving him tools to deal a DPS if he wants to go for like a DPS build, but having the main build still be mostly poke. That's basically how he works right now, but just like more refined. So these are the 2 options for the W. Sorry, did I say E? I meant W. The E is the current. Oh yeah, sorry. Before I go to the E, the W. Yeah. So if you're gonna go for the flat, then it should probably be as long as the W, sorry, is active. Then he gets the passive instead of giving him just 3 stacks. So it's much better for like an on-hit build. Maybe actually that's up to balancing. Anyway, let's leave that for now and go to the E. So the E is basically the rockets, the old ult. But instead, there's a couple of main changes. The first change is instead of holding, I think it's 9 or like 12 rockets, it now holds a maximum of 3 rockets. And instead of recharging each charge individually, it now charges all 3 charges at the same time, but has a much longer cooldown. So instead of like the like I think it's like 2-3 second cooldown per charge, it's now like 21 seconds for all 3 charges. Maybe even longer. And up to balancing if they want the charges to start, the cooldown to start after he uses all 3 charges, or each charge, like once you use the first charge, then it will start the cooldown. That really is up to balancing. The third rocket still deals bonus damage. I do want to do that. The idea here is to give him some like, first of all, some actual poke, like a longer range poke. His Q is still gonna be good poke, but like some longer range poke. But the overall damage of it is going to be massively reduced, as well as the potential damage, right? Since he has less charges and he has to wait for a longer time, I also want to make it maybe so instead of like every, I think like pretty much immediately you can use another E, like another rocket. Then I want it to be like every 1.5 seconds or something like that. So yeah, this just makes it the potential overall damage is reduced, as well as the immediate damage is reduced, and the poke damage, even though I'm actually not touching the damage, it's basically going to be the same damage. It's just that the potential of it is so much lower. This still allows him to have like a good poke from longer range, but if you really want to get the maximum amount of damage, as well as like a lot of damage at all, you really are going to have to go in with like auto attacks and your Q and your W and stuff like that. So it massively rewards you for playing riskier, but also gives enemies a lot more opportunity to kill you. Especially as you will notice, he doesn't have any way to like back off in team fights, right? Since I removed the W. Basically, you'll see what I mean. So let's go to the ult, which is Valkyrie. Basically, it's the, you know how when you get packaged, you have the longer W? I'm pretty sure that's called Valkyrie. I'm not sure what the normal W is called. I should probably check that. Give me a second. Okay, I checked. Yeah, the W is called Valkyrie. So yeah, I'm actually stupid. I thought it had a different name when he picked up package. Anyway, so basically, it's the ult is basically going to be the package W. So yeah, he no longer has the package, as I stated before. Kinda. I forgot to fully say that, but yeah, I kind of insinuated that when I said that I changed the passive completely. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So basically, instead of having the package, he now just has the ultimate, which is the extended Valkyrie that he has right now when he picks up package. Obviously, he no longer gets the movement speed, so it forces him to go for teleport in competitive play, which is basically the whole change here, right? Package is insanely good in competitive, but it requires a lot of setup, and it requires someone good to use it, and also requires a good team. Usually, you can still use it if you don't have a good team, but it's much less rewarding as well. So, but if it's now an ultimate, instead of having like a small duration, then if you catch someone offside or you see a good opportunity to use your ultimate, then it's gonna be much more rewarding. I mean, it's gonna be pretty much the same reward, but like you don't have to set up for it. You don't have to go pick up the package. But it's also a punish for competitive play, since it no longer gives him the movement speed, which forces him to go for teleport, and it but it still has like the same overall power. And there's just also another potential change, is making it when you hit an enemy, you get a second charge of your ultimate. Like with the ultimate, if you use Valkyrie and you hit someone, then you get a second charge of the smaller, basically the W that he has like normally, right? Charge. So this is basically to give him the same power, because the way that how package works is that the extended Valkyrie is its own cooldown. So you could package and then use your normal Valkyrie to get out or to escape over a wall or something like that. So I'm basically giving the same power, just he now has to hit an enemy to do that. I do really like this. Once again, it's a pretty big nerf to competitive, but like being the same power for pretty much everyone else. So much better in solo queue, much better overall, but it forces you to go teleport in competitive play as well as it doesn't give you the movement speed. So yeah, so it's a pretty good nerf to competitive power, but gives a much bigger power to solo queue. That's pretty much the change. As I said, there's a lot more opportunities to punish Corki. He either has to waste his ultimate and not get the second charge, which allows him to like do a longer jump. Because right now you can package away and then use your W again, so it gives him like an extended range. So anyway, so yeah, also Valkyrie does a lot of damage. The package Valkyrie does a lot of damage. So he just doesn't have the same escape power and mobility that he normally has, as well as he has a little more lockdown on his Q and auto attack. It's not too noticeable, but to a pro player it will give some potential to punish. So I'm giving him a higher risk, slightly higher risk actually, when it comes to the lockdown animation, a little bit of a bigger risk when it comes to the lower mobility, but a much higher reward, as well as reducing the potential for the range potential of him, since his only range was his rockets, which now are just lower overall damage. Even though, as I said, it's the same damage per each rocket, just because you have less rockets and you have to wait longer for cooldown, as well as for every charge, in between every charge, then it's just not gonna have the same damage. So if you want to get the good damage, you're gonna have to be a little more risky. You're gonna have to start using your other abilities, but it's gonna massively reward you for doing so. I'm also giving him better overall AoE damage, as well as a good option for an auto attack build if he wants to go for that, especially because the damage is now bonus magic damage, and the W is much easier to use. What was his E is much easier to use and doesn't like follow your mouse, so it allows you to kite a little bit better. Then yeah, it's just gonna allow you to kite better. So if you go for an auto attack build, then it's still gonna be really good. It also allows you to easier build overall. So yeah, I really like this concept. But yeah, this is it. I'll see you in the next video.